All right. Well, welcome to my first official Facebook Live. I don't know what I'm doing, but we'll get it through. I guess I just talk, right? So I have some notes just so you guys know. I will be practicing my speaking spontaneously as I grow. Let me get this side screen here. All right. Okay. All right. Well, today I want to talk to you about food addiction. Okay. If you are like me, there are some foods that just are very hard for you to get away from. Some treats, as we call them, just things that you really, really love to eat. And also, those foods are foods that you know you should not eat. The doctor probably told you stop eating that. It's not so good for your health. You need to make some changes. But it has been very difficult for us to step away from them. We realized we were kind of hooked to those foods, and so for me, I don't know for you, but for me, I love candy bars and I love cheese. You can post your comments on what you guys are struggling with. Why is your food addiction? And if you're not watching this live, you can also post a comment later on, okay? So let's talk about why it is so difficult. Welcome, I see Blessing, Dorothy, Sébastien. Hey, ça va? Thanks for coming in to my first Facebook Live. And so, food addiction. Why can't we stop eating those things? We know we should not eat them, but we love them. And I say we because I am part of the group. And we know it's not just the the good stuff. Nobody wants to keep eating kale. It's always the bad stuff that we want to keep around. And the answer is really simple: is that those food items, those foods are very addictive, and they are made addictive on purpose so that we will like them and we will love them. Even if it hurts us, we'll keep eating them. Okay. Most of the time, we don't realize that certain foods are harming us until it's too late. But why is that? Why is it that we can't just naturally gravitate to the good stuff? Okay. If we had to choose between mac and cheese and kale, we would go for the cheese, and I include myself. Okay. Um, Even, let me see. I don't want to, I'm going to use a term, gravitate from the word food to more of a food-like substance, okay? Because a lot of the things that we are eating is really more of a food-like substance, is created by the food industry, and we know that the food industry is just that. It's an industry, so it has to make money. The only way for it to survive is to sell, to make profit, sell some more, make more profit. And so of course they have to think about, well, how would they make the product so appealing to us so that we will want to buy some, and not just one time, but over and over and over again. And so they had to figure that out. So the big question, okay, how can we, the food industry, how can they make the stuff so good that the people couldn't get enough of it? So let me ask you. Oh, I see a lot of people coming in. And I'm sorry, guys, I have two computers because I'm working on this stuff. Okay, Renil, I see you. A lot of people. Thanks for joining in, guys. That's really sweet. When you do something live, sometimes you don't know if people are going to show up. So nice to see you. Drop your food addictions on there. Let me see what you guys are hooked on. Like I shared earlier, I love candy bars, chocolate, and I love cheese. That's my stuff. And so we talk a lot about big pharma, but let's talk about big food industry. So how could they make the food so interesting, that so delicious, that fried food? Yeah, I know. Me too. I should add that to my list. If it's fried, it's good, right? So how many times, let me ask you this, how many times have you opened a bag of chips and you eaten the whole thing, you just didn't even realize that, and then you realize, okay, I just couldn't stop eating it, I just had to eat the whole thing and now it's gone? Okay, raise your hand if that ever happened to you. Or maybe you had one cookie, I'm gonna have just one cookie or two, or a sliver of cake, and then you feel like it's just not enough, I need to have some more. Okay, nobody, including myself, I'd make myself, but it's very hard. Nobody wants to just have one scoop of ice cream. That's just wrong, okay? But here's the thing, there is a science, there is food engineering that is constantly researching how to make food more enjoyable so that we would consume more of it, okay? And if we consume more of it, we can't stop eating it. We are addicted to the food, okay? The question was, how can they make the food look, just right, and smell just right, taste just right, melt in your mouth so that you keep eating it and eating it? So there is a book out there that's actually very interesting. It's called Salt, Sugar, and Fat by Michael Moss, and I'll put a picture later on my page. And he talks about those magic formulas that the food industry, the food researcher, that's like a whole field. People, their job is to test, research, add one drop of salt or one drop of fat to our food just to make it right. And so each food item that you see packaged in a store has this magic formula. It's a ratio, if I could call it, of salt, sugar, and fat. Um, Marlene, I see you. Derek. Hey, Frederick Bussy. I think I know this guy. Um, so let's talk about first the bliss point. Okay. What is that? The bliss point is how much sugar does a certain food have to have so that it would be sweet enough, not too sweet, because then you want to eat it. You just know that's wrong, not to eat that. So just sweet enough, but not too sweet, but so that it will get you to the point where you don't feel full anymore. You don't worry about calories. You just eat and eat and eat. It's just when it's so good that you just have to keep going. And there is a point, it's called the bliss point, where there's a certain amount of sugar that is put in the food that makes you forget that you should be concerned, or that you should think about the amount of that food substance that you're eating, okay, about the amount of calories, the health factors, and all of that. So that's the bliss point. The bliss point has to do with sugar, okay? Then we talk about what's called the mouth feel. The mouth feel, which is a mouthful, but is the amount of fat that is needed to put in the food. So we don't want our food to be too soggy, or we don't want to see the oil dripping. Sometimes on pizza we do. But there is a certain amount of fat that you have to put in the food so that it would be melty, or for cheese, just cheesy and separating enough, or melting is important. If you think about, for example, chips or cheese puffs, even if they're crunchy, you put them in your mouth and then they just melt away. And that's the fat doing that. It just gives you that sensation of melting in your mouth. The idea is that you won't be chewing as much. Okay, so less chewing equals more eating. If you put it in your mouth, you crunch it a little bit and then it dissolves, then you want to get some more, put it in your mouth, crunch it some more, and let it dissolve. And you keep doing that and doing that until you ate the whole bag of chips, okay? So that is the mouth feel. It applies to any food, okay? Just like cake, what do we say? The cake is moist. Okay, that's the amount of butter that is in the cake. When it can be too moist, because now it will feel fat. Okay, you'll feel the oil, the butter. You'll feel oily. It will break apart too much. But you want it to break apart a little bit, because that's when you're eating moist cake. Okay, so those are the things that they work on. So we talked about bliss point for sugar, and also the mouth feel for fat. Now, once we have those two things combined, sometimes it's still too sugary, it's still too fat, too buttery, or whatever. And I say butter, but it's really not what they're using, just oily things, different oils. And so now, once we have that, we have to even it out and balance it out. I see, Shelly, you said chips. Chips are the thing. Yes, that's true. So now we need to add one more thing, one more element to the formula, which is the flavor burst. Okay, so it just sounds cool and fun. It's not. It's just salt. So how much salt do we need to put in the food? And the salt is what often, just like when we're cooking, so the salt brings back the right smell. It enhances the taste, or the good taste, okay? And it also helps with the texture of the crunch. In the book, the author talks about, I think Cheetos, you're saying that if you eat Cheetos without salt, it's just cardboard. But then you add that specific amount of salt, then now you have the crunch and you have the taste. And so the salt is there to balance out the two first ingredients, the sugar and the fat. And it makes it so that it actually allows for more sugar and more fat to be added in the food. We've all done that. If you're making a sauce, some kind of sweet and sour sauce or something like that, savory food, if you put a little bit too much sugar, you add some salt to it. And then if you put too much salt, you have to add a little bit more sugar. You try to balance it out. I mean, sometimes you can ruin your food, but your dish, but hey, in their case, they don't do that. They find the right proportion for everything. So there you have it, okay? Sugar, fat, and salt. Every processed, every packaged food that you see on the shelf, the snacks, the meals, fried food, baked, frozen, organic, vegan, diet, it doesn't matter. They all have the same thing. And actually, interesting point is that something that is low fat often have more sugar in it. So when you go for the in the shelf for something that says low fat, it probably has more sugar, which we know sugar transforms into fat, so defeats the purpose. But that's marketing. And then if you have low sugar, often that means more fat and more additive and other artificial sweeteners, because they have to compensate for that loss of taste from the sugar. So every food like substance, not just it's not food. It's not food because it's not nutritional really, but it's a food like substance. And so if it's coming to you in a package, okay, it has been studied. It has been based on those different factors. So and then we talked about marketing. But that's a very important aspect also. The marketing and the branding, very important, because now we've all seen the commercials about pizza and the gooey cheese, and you know, it's 4th of July. Some people are out celebrating, and the sizzle on the burgers and the hot dogs and all those things. The idea of family gathering, joy and happiness, relaxation. For some people, it's more the fancy cuisine, you know. All of those things are marketed to you and in that package. So it makes you feel that if you buy this product, you will feel a certain way. You'll experience certain things, okay? If you have this Snickers bar, you will no longer be grumpy or hungry. Okay, we've seen it, and so even the health products, a lot of the vegan craze and vegetarian and all those things, plant based. That people are gravitating towards these days. A lot of people are still using packaged food because it's easier. That's really, I mean, we all do it. But they can also sell you health in a box, package, you know, vegan or plant-based or whatever, low fat, low sodium and all these things. But think about what they have done to the ratio, okay? So why are you addicted to food? Why can't you stop eating certain things? Who do I see on there? Beauclair, Vanessa, Richard. Hi, everybody. Answer that question for me. Why can't you stop eating certain things? Simply because those foods have been engineered for you not to be able to stop eating them. Okay, so there is the taste buds, there's an emotional connection, all those things are there to get you stuck in a way. In the long run, as you eat those things, at first, like we said, we don't necessarily notice it, but in the long run, you start having issues, health issues, and deficiencies in nutrients because they're valuing the sale of the product over the nutritional aspect of the product. We can have some deficiency, nutrient deficiency. We can have different health issues, some toxicity going on, inflammation, and all of that. So this is my message for today. I don't want you to feel bad and say, oh, the food industry is after me. In a way, yeah, well, that's, any kind of industry is trying to sell. It doesn't mean also that it is hopeless, because there are ways to change your taste buds. There are ways to, let's see, to conquer this, okay, if we can say, to break the cycle. So first things first, I just want to make sure that you don't beat yourself up. I wanted to just share this message, simple message. There are 3 things that are in the foods that make it difficult for you to stop eating those things. So when you go on diets and you try over and over, you go running, exercising, to the gym, you take the diet pill, the juice fast, the water fast, and all those things, and you go right back into eating the food. There is a reason for that. Don't beat yourself up. You are not what you eat. You're not your addiction. You're not a victim. Definitely not a guinea pig. We'll just have to reject this idea. There are things that we can do to break the cycle. Okay, so internalize those truths. Remember, salt, sugar, and fat, they are not bad in themselves, but the way they have been used to really get us trapped or hooked is bad. But there are things that we can do. So I want you to do, I will come back probably the next couple of days to give you a part 2 of the talk. And what I want you to do in the meantime is just really stay positive on your journey, understanding that there has been a reason, there is a reason why you've been struggling with the way food has been engineered, and understanding that there are ways for you to regain the power, break the cycle of this food addiction. All right, well, let me see. Let me come on here. I lost my comments. I want to thank you all for joining. It seemed that that was kind of a shorter talk than expected, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm thinking either tomorrow or probably tomorrow, I will give you the next section on the talk that is going to give you some tips on how to reset the clock and how to break the cycle. So see you then. Thank you for joining. And as soon as I can end this meeting. Thank you, guys.